So if you're thinking about moving to Seattle and you're examining the Magnolia neighborhood, I want to give you some highlights of what it's like to live in Magnolia. Yes, Magnolia is a little bit of a fancy, high-end, posh, old money type of neighborhood, but it's really nice. You can still get in, and we are going to go over all of the things that I like and don't like about Magnolia so you can decide if this is a neighborhood that makes good sense for you. This is the first time on my channel, I want to welcome you. My name is Emily Cressey. I'm actually a local real estate agent here in the Seattle area, and I love a number of things about Magnolia, but it is not for everyone. So I want to take you out on the mean tree-lined streets of landscaped Magnolia so you can see what it would really be like to live there, get a feel for it, and see if it makes sense for you. Also on this channel, I go over a lot of other different neighborhoods that may or may not be right for you, so it's a great place to kind of compare those. So while you're here, I would love for you to subscribe. We update with more videos every week so you can kind of see what else we've got coming out. And in addition, if you would give me a like, if you would give me a hate, just let me know, give me comments, feedback. I thrive on all of that. It makes me feel very happy, and it makes YouTube show my video to more people. And plus, I read all of the comments and I will actually get back to you. I would love your insight and your input. It helps make everything better. So with no further ado, let's get you out to Magnolia. So as we zoom in here on the map of Magnolia, we can see what's around it and kind of talk about the area in general. So right here where it says Seattle on the map is the central core, the downtown Seattle with all of the high-rise buildings. Some of the things that you might have seen there would be Pike Place Market, the Fifth Avenue Theater, the ferry that goes back and forth to Bainbridge Island and over here to the peninsula. We have the Space Needle a little bit to the north, so if you've seen any of those touristy type pictures of Seattle, this area right here, very high density skyscrapers, that's what we're talking about. So neighborhoods surrounding this have historically been in very high demand due to the short commute distance. We have this freeway I-5 that goes north to south all the way down to Mexico. And this is the main corridor that people use for commuting to work in the morning if they work in downtown Seattle. There's a little loop that goes off here called 405. That goes through Bellevue, and they've actually added some toll roads to that to make that a little bit more efficient. So as the economy has changed a little bit with more people working from home, it's been interesting to look at the appreciation rates in the area, and actually condos close to downtown Seattle have been one of the softest parts of the market in the last couple of years. But what I'm seeing now is that more people are moving in. I've got a couple of buyers that just put something under contract here in Magnolia. They were also looking in Capitol Hill. There were tons of people buying homes here in Capitol Hill. It seemed like a lot of folks that we had spoken to had just moved in. So there are some nice older properties here, and I think that's the thing to bear in mind. These are established neighborhoods. A typical home, we looked at one that I think was very typical, was like 1,000 square foot 2-bedroom home on one level, and then people will finish out the basement in a different variety of manners. It could have been like a 2-bedroom downstairs or a rec room downstairs, something like that, to get the total square footage up to 2,000 square feet, but still not having a huge footprint and not having maybe the most modern of layouts. Different eras kind of have their own feel. This area in Magnolia was actually established in 1891 and is one of the older parts of the city, along with Queen Anne. Queen Anne is on a hill called Queen Anne Hill, and right at the top you'll see this radio tower sticking up, and that kind of marks the top of Queen Anne. But there are a lot of apartments in this area. It's a little bit higher density, and there are some beautiful Victorian homes, especially here overlooking the water. There's some nice viewpoints here. And then in between Queen Anne and Magnolia, we have this area called Interbay. And Interbay, do I have my crime map up for you? So this is a crime map. The darker blue areas are higher crime areas. So as you might expect, we're having more crime in the downtown core. Now here's Magnolia, and this is actually a very low crime area. The only kind of problem spots are here along the middle, which is the Interbay region. And so the Interbay region has railroad tracks, very industrial, and then up at the top here, Fisherman's Terminal. We have like some docks and things like that. So this is just a little bit more industrial. It's funny, the cruise ships that come to Seattle that then later go out to Alaska or down to California come through cruising, parking their cruise ships here as well. So we have a friend who's a longshoreman, and one of the things that he does is take the bags on and off these cruise ships. And so that happens in Magnolia. As you can see here, looking at the map, there's actually not a lot of shopping in this area. You know, some people say I want to be able to walk to coffee or restaurants and that type of a thing. This is almost entirely residential. And it does have a few restaurants, like a bank and some of those things, a grocery store, but it's not a lot. It's not very retail friendly. So if you drive down this way into Queen Anne, and especially down here, you'll start to have like the Opera House and some of the event centers and that type of a thing that are drawing a lot of people in. And if you get down here to Belltown, this is actually an area full of apartments and nightlife and clubs and those types of things. So all of that is within easy access by car, but it's not right walkable in your neighborhood unless you're like my friend Stephanie. She and her husband bought a house in Magnolia, and she's a big runner. So she loves jogging here along the Magnolia Bluff, and she can make it all the way down into what she calls Amazonia. This is Amazon territory. We have tens of thousands of Amazon employees in the area, and a lot of their offices are here in the South Lake Union area. This is a part of town that used to be kind of low-rise, industrial, kind of seedy. And Paul Allen, the co-founder of Microsoft, along with Bill Gates, really developed this area. He invested a lot of money in here. Now there are high-rise office buildings here. So this whole area has really seen a resurgence in growth. There's a naval station looking building right here on the tip, which has the Museum of History and Industry. And then there's a very nice walking path, walker bike jog path along the lake as well. So, oh, and Google, right across from Mohi, Google has a beautiful new office with incredible video games on the top floor. So if you are working in IT, this is an area that would be have a lot of easy access for work right here, if those are some of the companies that you're looking at. But this does just have a bit of an older, more historic feel. Now, one of the crown jewels of Magnolia, and this is the thing that actually brings me to the area, is Discovery Park, which is this huge park on the tip of the peninsula, which is fantastic for a number of reasons. First, there are a lot of historical buildings there, kind of a military history type of buildings. They're not a museum. I think some of them might actually be rented out and occupied, but you can see, you know, the general's quarters and that type of a thing. Some really nice old buildings. Second, there is beautiful terrain of all kinds. So there are forests that you can hike through. There are blackberries you can pick. There are rolling meadows full of tall grasses that are just beautiful. I mean, you almost feel like you're in a storybook as you're like, you know, running through the fields of gold, as it were, right? And then down by the bluff, this is woodsy for a time. You can actually hike down a fairly steep hill, but hike down through the trees and get to the sandy bottom. There's a lighthouse here. You can kind of see it pictured here. So this is, again, you know, it's fenced off because it's a historic building, but there's the lighthouse and there's the water, and you're really on the open water with Puget Sound right there. So it's a great little beach hike, have a picnic down there. Some people walk and jog here on a daily basis. It's a lot of different trails and opportunities for that. Another point of interest, this is really a fun place to take guests. If you're visiting town, or if you haven't been there, I would suggest that you take a look at the locks. And what this is essentially a water elevator that connects these two bodies of water. And you can see here's Lake Washington and here's Puget Sound. Lake Washington is freshwater, Puget Sound is saltwater. And sometimes people have beautiful boats that they want to be able to access both bodies of water. So what they've done is they've actually cut in some places some access canals here so that we can sail our boats back and forth through this area. But surprise, surprise, the water level is not the same in both bodies of water. So what they have is essentially two walls, two dams that open and close. And so you sail your boat up to the wall, they open the gates slowly, the water level equalizes, and you sail your boat into a box. You're trapped between these two walls. And then they open this wall and the water level equalizes again, and then you sail out into the secondary body of water. So it's really fun to watch. They have a salmon ladder there, so when the salmon are running, you can come see them packing the salmon ladder, and it's just a really fun kind of novel activity. You don't get to see that just anywhere, so it's pretty impressive from an engineering perspective to see how they were able to do that. Now let's take a look at the types of homes you might expect to find in the Magnolia area. And this is on my website, but I'm just gonna talk through a couple of examples here. And the starting price point is really about $1 million for this area. We see a couple things here. So let's take a look at this one, which I would say is a very typical home for the area. As you can see, the beautiful neighborhood, it's got sidewalks, it's got lawns, very well-maintained home with the manicured yard, the trimmed shaped bushes here, the older looking property, inside hardwood floors, and then you can just see kind of the room size and the layout is you got a fireplace, you have a formal dining room. So a lot of those architectural touches that were very popular at the time are what we're going to see here. Now this is a little unusual in that the cabinets here in the kitchen are very dated. I wouldn't be surprised if this had the same family living in it for the last 30 or more years. And once you move to Magnolia, there aren't a lot of places to move up in the world. From a Seattle perspective, you're at a primo address. So kind of once you arrive there, it's nice, it's safe, it's beautiful, it's prestigious. And so this is the type of place that people typically will stay for a long time, essentially until they're no longer able to stay in their home. So it may be that there are some opportunities for sweat equity here, as you might upgrade some of the bathroom and kitchen cabinets and that type of a thing. Or if you like that sort of kitschy, look at this, a wood paneled wall, if you like that type of thing, you can keep that alive. There's actually a lot to be said for those mid-century modern homes. And then here in this area, you can see the beautiful view of Puget Sound, and these are the Olympic Mountains in the background. So we're here and we're looking out over the water this way to the west. These are the Olympic Mountains. This is where the book Twilight took place in Forks. It's even more rainy over here. Oh, there's Forks. Because what happens is the water comes off the ocean, rain clouds coming off the ocean, they get stuck on this tall mountain. They're heavy with rain. They can't go over the mountain. So the clouds get stuck and they hang out here, and eventually there are enough of them and they get heavy enough and it rains. And so this whole peninsula is basically a temperate rainforest. If you've seen pictures of it, it's very mossy, very ferny, very dense, old growth timber and that type of a thing. So this is a wet, dark, gray, rainy area. By comparison, here on the east side of the Olympics, it's what's called a rain shadow. So Sequim, as it's pronounced, there are a lot of beautiful lavender farms in Sequim. A lot of people will come over here for the weekend or for the day, go up to Port Angeles or Sequim on the ferry and just enjoy. They tend to get very sunny weather because all the clouds dumped their rain and the clouds don't make it over here. So it just tends to not be too wet on the side. It's a rain shadow. And so when we get over here to Seattle, unfortunately we do get more of the clouds forming again and that type of a thing. But when you have a view of the Olympics, it's beautiful. And also if you're looking this way, you can have a view of the Cascade Mountains. That's not necessarily what you're going to get in Magnolia, but just to kind of orient you. There are mountains all over the place. You'll start to learn their names, and they are very helpful for navigation purposes. So what's another one? Here's another one that's listed for 1.2 million. This is what I was referring to, kind of the mid-century modern look. This was built, I guess it says it was rebuilt in 1965, but to me, this looks very 70s, but there's a huge following of people who like this type of property. You can see, wow, look at that. They have a pool in the back. They have this huge glass area, these kind of high peaked triangular roofs and a lot of windows looking out there to let the light in are one of the things that I would say are typical of mid-century modern. Fancy architectural details here. So anyway, we don't need to belabor this, but just to kind of give you an idea of what's around you. And then top price is going to be down on the water. And so as you can see, there are homes built up all along the waterfront. We don't have a lot of waterfront access except in public parks, which if you look at the map, they'll be marked in green so you can kind of see where the city parks are. And so a lot of people tell me they like to go on walks or they like to go hiking and that type of a thing. So you can see what's around you, what kind of parks are available. This is a long park, right? A walkway overlooking the bluff. Right, so here, for example, is a waterfront home, and these are going to be some of our most premium priced property in the Seattle area. I mean, we do have the occasional $10 or $15 million home, but for the most part, the top of the market right now, at least, is about $5. And so you can really see how all of these waterfront and water view properties are built up. Beautiful sunsets. This is just a nice way to get a feel for the water. And we've got some windows overlooking, right? Gorgeous. But over here we have some more industrial stuff. So you've just got to be careful. Maybe, I mean, some people have told me they think that's really interesting and they don't mind looking at those types of things. It gives them something to look at. And some people say they really don't like the noise or the look. They'd rather feel out in nature. So anyway, this is something that I would consider luxury real estate, top of the line real estate at a top of the line address. If you're looking for something less expensive, you can find condos and apartments in this area. This is a 1-bedroom. It's listed for $300,000 and it's 700 square feet. So you can live here even on a more strict budget if you're willing to go the condo route. So if you're looking at Magnolia and you're not sure that it's for you, here are some other similar areas to consider. So here's Magnolia. We've got the Inner Bay Railroad, and then on the other side is Queen Anne Hill. Highly desirable, a little bit more urban feel, especially down here on the south side. And we start to get more apartments and high rises as we kind of come down the hill in this direction. Over here, West Seattle, Alki Point, some very nice, again, water view, waterfront property. There's a beach down here that's got a beautiful boardwalk, and a lot of people like to go walking down there. There are condos on the waterfront looking out over the water. And there's also what they call a downtown water taxi. So you can actually take a little $5 ferry boat and go into the city of Seattle this way, which is great because otherwise you're stuck kind of driving the long way around. You drive through this industrial district, and some of these industrial things are parked right here. So we do have cranes and the Port of Seattle operations kind of in this area, which again, you know, some people don't really prefer that industrial scene, but this is an international port. People are coming over with the boats from China and things like that, and we have the port and the railroad and other kind of transportation hub. As you get down into South Seattle, it has historically been a little bit more industrial. We have the Boeing airplane manufacturer down here. We have SeaTac Airport down here. So kind of that potential for airplane traffic and noise, and some of the boat port activities here. One of the other popular areas to look at would be Capitol Hill. This has historically been kind of a urban, gritty nightlife type of area. When I was in high school, a group of friends and I would come and hang out here, see and be seen. There were, it's not the type of area that I would want to stay out by myself or stay out after too late, but my curfew was 11, so I was always out of there by about 10:30. But a lot of people moving into this area, some nice bigger, again, older homes here. Some Victorians have been turned into 2 and 3 family homes. But as you crest over the hill, getting into North Capitol Hill, you can start to have water view property looking out over Lake Washington. So just rest assured, as you're looking at things, the closer it is to the water, typically the nicer and more expensive it's going to be. Right here near the Arboretum, this is a huge tree park, essentially, with there's a Japanese garden there, there are lawns, there's a rhododendron azalea way where we go with my mom on Mother's Day, and the rhododendrons and the azaleas are typically blooming then, which are just fantastic and colorful, and we can really check them out. And then ponds and all the trees are labeled, and it also opens up onto Lake Washington. So you can actually, up here, you can rent a canoe. Sorry, this little thing keeps showing us stuff. So here's the University of Washington campus. And so in this area, a lot of professors would have lived here and that type of a thing. My grandparents built their house. This was the baby boomer era, like probably 1950s. Over here near what this is called Laurelhurst. They were in a neighborhood called Windermere, which is very high end. The mayor of Seattle lives there. Gary Larson, the Far Side cartoonist, lives there. At least he did at one point. Bill Gates's parents lived there. So this was kind of a fancy area with waterfront access, close to the University of Washington. This area here was, attracting those types of people when it was built post-war. So I hope that gives you a great idea of what it's like to live in Magnolia. If Magnolia was actually a thumbs down for you, that's okay. It won't hurt my feelings. Some other alternative neighborhoods to look at would be Ballard, Queen Anne, Capitol Hill, and West Seattle. These are all areas that are still fairly close in and have a similar type of culture, being close to the water, pretty urban, pretty nice, older homes, that type of a thing. So if this is the neighborhood that you want to live in, feel free to call, reach out. I can get you a list of some of the homes that are available there and just kind of let you know what to do more generally as you are planning your relocation to the Seattle area. So this is Emily, gonna show you some other videos here. You want to check out those next, and I'll look forward to seeing you on the next one.